everybody. It's Thanksgiving Day 2025, and I just want to walk you through some of the paintings that I have done for the last, I would say, 3 years. So we're going to start with the keyboardist here. This is an original piece here, and as you can see, it's about 24 by 48, pretty large, and it's mixed media print. I use acrylic paint, and what's interesting about this piece is the raised cardboard that I have here that brings the keys to life. But I also use a lot of newsprint in my pieces. And the newsprints signify storytelling. And what I say in my pieces is it's time for us to create our own narratives. I entitled that as New Narratives for a New Day for Black folks in America. So this is a favorite piece of mine that is a part of a larger series. There are 5 paintings that belong to the jazz band. This is one piece. It's the only original that I have left. It's the latest one that I've done, but there are 4 more that you'll see in the prints. I don't have the originals. So there's a couple pieces that I have that I'm working on right now. This piece here, I'm in the middle of it. So I'm still trying to figure out exactly how I can create bicycles that have meaning. So this is all abstract. So all of my pieces are abstract. They're all mixed media, and newspaper and cardboard are the 2 things that I bring into paintings. So this is really going to be about 3 bicyclists. And you can see here that I've already drawn 3 heads, and I got to figure out how to abstractly incorporate them in so that you see them but you don't see them. So this is really inspired by there was a bicycle brigade of Black soldiers during World War II that rode their bikes from state to state. So this is one that will be dedicated to that time in that era once it is complete. But you know, I'm going to pull this down because I talked about the jazz band. And behind here is 5 pieces. These are prints. They're limited edition prints. Here we have the drummer, and that's what this piece is called, the drummer. And of course, again, I use newsprint for the cymbals here, mainly. No cardboard in this piece, but I really enjoyed pulling in newsprint throughout to incorporate it into the drums and into the musician as well. So this piece here, you've already seen. Right here next to it, you've already seen that. I talked about it. It's the keyboardist. And what I didn't mention was this one is inspired by some of the great keyboardists of our time. So in the summary, you'll just see me name several keyboardists that really just made music, beautiful music on keyboard and on piano. This one is the guitarist. It was the first one that I did of the series, actually. So this is the jazz, no, not guitarist, I'm sorry. This is the saxophonist. This was one of the first that I did here. And here you can see I've incorporated the newsprint in this piece as well. But then because it's, you know, if you listen to a saxophonist that really goes kind of nuts and just bring it to life, this kind of crazy splattering here just emotes the saxophone so that it makes you feel the music that they bring. And, you know, one of my favorite saxophonists, of course, is our very own BK, who comes and has done some shows for me for some of the benefits that I've done. But yeah, this is a favorite piece of Minnie that really loved this series. Right next to it is the guitarist. I kind of mentioned it earlier, but the guitarist is a piece that people were asking for. And you know, this one's inspired by Jimi Hendrix and the likes. I want to say down B.B. King, but also Bob Marley. So I did this one, and I love the dreads because it just reminds me of those days when I would go to the Caribbean and just really listen to really great music. So this one is a favorite. The original, interestingly enough, was bought by a couple that live out there on Davis Island. And that was a real pleasant surprise to see that it had a good home, which most of them, the original of the other pieces actually were bought together, and they are out in sort of the New Tampa area. And the last piece of the series right here is the bass. I'm calling it the bass, the cello. And I wanted to do a piece that was largely abstract. This one got me third place at a Carol Wood art showing, and I was pretty pleased with that. But again, the dynamic of the cello when it's really playing, and I love the fact that it's abstract. Yes, I do the newsprint again here, but I also just kind of loosely allow it to just explode with the music. So I'm gonna kind of go to a piece I'm working on right now, right here. This is not a finished piece either. Sometimes I work on pieces simultaneously and I get into a color mode, and right now it's sort of that grayish blue, grayish green. And again, these are, I haven't even named this piece, but right now I'm doing a time series. So you see the clock here, the old kind of grandfather looking clock. I have a date here of 1619 here that will also draw some significance. And the story is being told as I kind of go through the piece and I feel the piece and I start marking pieces in, and then I'll tie it together and summarize this piece as well. So that's part of the exciting piece, is that I get to think about our community, what's going on in the community, and I can get it on canvas, and then I can start telling the story. So in this room, there are 1, 2, 3 originals. Yep, 3 originals, but I also have a lot of prints, and that's what you saw here. I do frame the prints, but I have a lot of prints from the past, and I'm gonna just kind of go through these right here. This one just sold. It is a print, but the original just sold. A young lady or a family in Chicago bought this one. It's amazing to me that people are able to look at the pieces and have some kind of identity or some kind of an affinity for the piece. So that one I just sent to Chicago the other day, but prints are always available. This one was called Time After Time. Do you guys remember Cyndi Lauper? Time After Time. That's what this one is. I have another that is called For Such a Time as This. Again, I'm in my time mode this year, so everything is kind of tied to the clock. So you see the clock in this piece here. This piece I know I'll be showing, the original is in the living room, but I'll be showing this piece on Monday to someone who's called and asked to come and see the picture. So when people come to visit the paintings, I know it's a sell. So this one's called For Such a Time as This. And again, you notice they're all black figures, kind of indiscreet. They're there, but there's no facial features to it. And all of that is by design, because it could be any one of us. And actually the black color doesn't necessarily signify black, although the hair is always a little bit woolly. There's no straight hair. But I want for people, whether you're black or white, and all kinds of people buy this art, that you feel that you can identify with it. Just like I had to identify with white figures. White people are now identifying with black figures and being able to decide, oh, you know what, I can relate to this. This piece here, the original, this is This one is called Here Comes the Sun, and it centers a black woman with a young white woman decided that this needed to be in her home. So that was pretty exciting to me. I think it's always exciting when people that don't look like me actually can relate to the art. And then I'm going to show you this piece here, one of my earlier pieces that I showed in my first juried show. I did get third place. It was the first time I entered something in Sarasota, and the art sold immediately. But this one is, these are bikers. These are women bikers. These women in history, I think in 1920, drove their bikes from New York to Washington, D.C. just for the love of biking. So even then, our lives were really difficult, but we found things that we loved and we actually participated. So all of them have the stories here. So what I just said is succinctly written here and on the back so that people really have an understanding of what inspired me for each piece. So we're gonna walk out to, actually we're gonna go to the other side. We're gonna step over Moses. So over there, these pieces here, let me start here. Cut off the light so that you can see better. Hopefully that wasn't too glary for you guys, but so this piece here was one that called Girls of Summer, and it really just talks about women, black women in particular, having each other's back. So it's called, actually not Girls of Summer, but Urban Summer. And it's one of the favorite pieces that I have. It's one of my favorite pieces that I have. These pieces here are, again, more of the prints that I have. So it kind of gives you an idea of, in the last 3, 4, I would say, I guess it's been about 5, 6 years now that I've been doing art, but I've amassed a lot of pieces. One of the favorites from most is for ballerinas. Very simple piece that really, it's also subtitled Misty's Dream. Misty Copeland, who just recently retired from the American Ballet Theater, said, I want more girls that look like me to know that they can be anything that they want. And that inspired me to do this piece here. So all of them, again, have stories that I can tell. Now, I do have some of these on the wall, so I'm going to go here. And here I have a lot of the prints on the wall. And what I'm actually going to do in here is kind of make it my own little studio. So let's start with this piece here. This is one of my early pieces, and I didn't think people would really like this one, but it's another pretty popular one. It's called Single Girl, and it just talks about little girls that grow up to be very strong women, and sometimes they're the only one black in a room, especially if they're extremely successful. So I really want to kind of point to you about, just notice this is a little girl with the pigtails, and I just wanted to make it extremely simple so that we could really identify with that little girl that might be quiet, that might be taking it all in, that grows up to do great things in life. This is a popular piece. People actually love the concept behind it, but also love the composition. Below it is called Waterfalls. This is a less popular piece. In fact, I did not sell the original, I just redid it. It does sell, but this one was inspired by, you know the song, Don't Go Chasing Waterfalls. A lot of my past does end up in these pictures, but this one are the three girls, remember them in the water singing that song. That's a song that for me was extremely impressionable. It was a song that I absolutely loved, and I had to do a piece around that. Up here, this one I actually did after a male mentoring group here in Tampa Bay. It's called Men of Vision. I've always been extremely impressed with them. And I remember seeing Ron Anderson and saying, I'm gonna do a painting that represents the good work that you do. And so you see the two males, and then you see all of the, 5 little boys that surround them, and they all have on their tie. What's really notable, actually there's 6, I forgot the little guy here at the bottom. What's really notable is that all of them are wearing newsprint. And remember earlier I said I use a lot of newsprint in my works because it's time for us to take control of the narrative and to begin telling our own stories the way that we think they ought to be told. So for them, because of the strength of what I think we actually have in our men, they're just wearing that newsprint because it's very important that they take hold of the story, take control of it. So yeah, this is a piece that I really love. One thing about the newsprint as well, people do ask me this all the time, is are the articles relevant to the story? And no, I use newsprint as just another color on the palette actually. So I'm finding the difference. For me, this was inspired by Rodin's Thinker. And I said, what do Black women think about when they sit and think? So I had to do our version of Rodin's Thinker. Now, her body is newsprint. Now, it's shaded in browns, but actually it's just total newsprint. Again, the need to take the narrative, tell the story the way we know the story should be told. Stories have been used against us, narratives that were created that says we're something that we're not. It's time for us to take some pictures with my sisters. I think it was for my birthday a couple years ago. And this is what I came up with in terms of who I see myself as. Tell the story, which is what I'm doing with you today. Tell the story, don't hide it. We are the ones who best know who we are. And that piece here was also another piece that I did with my sisters. We do, on occasion, we come to the house and do paint and sip. My self-portrait was a paint and sip opportunity, but so is this one. This one I was practicing because I was gonna do the bicycle one that I showed you earlier, and I wanted to practice that. And this is what came of it. I donated this one, actually didn't donate, I gifted it to my sister Jeannette, who cycles at like 4 in the morning with women around Tampa. And I said, this one is definitely for you. So I'm pleased with how that turned out, and strangely enough, the print sells quite a bit as well. And on the other side of the wall, these are 3 originals. This one, I wanted to create a piece that represented someone that was very important to me in my life, James Arthur Hammond. And so that's really what that represents. He passed away about 3-4 years ago, and I miss him dearly. So this will likely not sell, but I'm thinking about donating this piece to the school that was named after, the elementary school that was named after him. At some point I'll likely donate it, but for right now, it's me, it's mine. So I want to take you to this piece here right next to it. Somebody is coming to have a look at this one on Monday. I'm happy to see the other room. This one is called For Such a Time as This. And of course it has the time clock, and the time clock tells us that now is the time. that we must come together. Now, this is all women or little girls. You know, I see the little girls as growing up to be very strong women, but for such a time as this, it is time for us to move. Ooh, what did I name this piece? This is a relatively new piece, and I'm not quite, but it is a time series piece, and we have the three males here that I think the strength of our men is critical for the times that we are in. The timepiece indicates the time is now. In fact, I have several clocks, 1, 2, and then you've got the third one here with barely any numbers, but here is significant. But of note here, I did not put the hands of the clock on the clock, just the numbers. So this is a piece too that is new and ready to go, but I'm sorry I can't give you the title of this one because it slips me at the moment, slips my mind at the moment. But that, as of now, I do have a couple pieces, as I showed you, that I am working on. And I have, before the end of the year, plans to do add two more pieces to the collection. I think next year is going to be a great year for my art, for J.M. Bradley's urban art. Thanks.